Good evening, everybody. Hi, and welcome to another chat zone. I'm just going to bring on my co-host Charlene, and we'll have a little bit of a chinwag very quickly before we bring on our guest, our very special guest tonight, Michelle. Just do a couple of. How are you doing, Charlene? You're right.
All right, just amazing. There's been fireworks and everything
Oh wow!
going off here.
I,
Brilliant.
I could hear people outside mine with pots and pans and things, but of course, my problem is if I step outside, then I'll be literally right next to my neighbour. So it's kind of like
Which
can't
point?
really social distance at that point.
No,
So
no.
Charlene and I have just been on another live just before this. I went and raided it, so just do a couple of hellos very quickly before we bring Michelle on. Hi, Irene. Lovely to have you on. Hi, Kirsty McGugan on YouTube. Linda Graham, sorry. Paranormal Postmortem. Hi, Drew and Tila on YouTube. Elaine Farrell, Shelby Carter, Steve Hemingway, Jasmine Maduro. Elaine Farrell again. There we go. Davey. Airshalash Julie. Sorry, I can't get my words out today. Noreen, hi, how are you? Lynn Wiles, how are you? I need to clean my glasses, I think. Mary Williamson, Jasmine again. Tracy Green, how are you? John Harris is watching. Thank you very much for sharing, John. John in the chat. Good to see you, mate. Good to see you online. Hello to everybody. If I haven't mentioned you, just flew up then. So I'm going to bring Michelle on to introduce her to everybody. Certainly in for a treat tonight, discussing things with Michelle about what she does and has done before as well. So everybody welcome Michelle. Hello.
Hello, how is everyone?
All good, thank you very much. And yourself?
Doing good. Having my afternoon coffee and a little bit of paranormal talk. Can't get any better than that.
Oh, good job. I'm naughty. I deal with the Pepsi Max here.
Hi, Michelle. I'm Charlene.
Yeah, Michelle.
Charlene.
So Charlene is obviously she'll tell you about herself in a moment, but she's mainly vlogger, blogger, you name it. Charlene does it in the paranormal. So you can't really sort of go too wrong. So
No.
those of you in the chat that don't know Charlene as well, Charlene has been on here a few times before, but I'll let her introduce herself very briefly again.
So I own Paranormal Hauntings, investigate researcher for there. Like Dan says, I blog, I do videos, I do live investigations, I do just normal content investigations, got my own array of items that I study. Just anything to do with the paranormal is generally, I'm on it, looking at it and researching on it.
Awesome. And Michelle, obviously you've got an amazing background behind you in the paranormal, especially not just your group, but also what you do with the Warrens. But I'll let you explain that. And then what I'll do is I'll put a link into the chat for anybody if they want to come on screen and have a chat and say hello as well. And we'll go for some sort of questions from the actual chat itself. Over to you.
All right. Well, I'm actually on the board of directors with the Warren Legacy Foundation for Paranormal Research. I'm also the regional district for the Midwest. I do have an amazing team called Riverside Iowa Paranormal, which we have different chapters. We have them in Indiana, we have Minnesota, we have Iowa, and we have Kansas, Missouri area. We do help people in the Midwest, but also around the world. I have some amazing colleagues that I work with on the foundation. I am a psychic medium, trans medium, demonologist, and I'm also registered with the Worldwide Society of Exorcists.
Wow.
Anything else?
That's a Stevie and a half, isn't it?
Is there anything else under that belt?
And during the day,
wow.
If you need money, I also work at a bank, so I can help you on that end too.
Oh yeah, I think we need that at the moment. Definitely, I need that at the minute. So obviously, going sort of moving back to the earlier part of your CV there, the Warrens. What sort of things do you do when you're on the board of the Warren Foundations? What does that entail?
Well, it actually entails, because we're always looking for amazing teams to make members of the Warren Legacy Foundation. There's people all around the world that need help. And what we are doing is we want to make sure we have reputable teams in these areas. So when families call and need help, we know the team's going to help them will do a good job, not charge money or, scam them and things like that. So it's actually like a big para unity of bringing everybody in, but they also, will have all of us to fall back on. So if they have a case they're struggling with, they can bring it to us also. And it's part of the research. We spoke about research before. It's not just going in with all your gadgets or your abilities, but also doing the background research of why would this actually be happening. And so having this network and all of us to be able to look at each other's cases to say, somebody had a case like this in the UK and I'm getting now one in the United States. There's similarities, what did they find out, and kind of working together and doing it for the people who actually need it, not for the 5 minutes of famers, I guess you could say it.
Is there a certain amount of, is there like guidelines like that these groups would follow? So if say you like a protocol that they'd follow prior to going into investigation? Is there something like to say that so you all the teams follow off the same hymn sheet, if you like?
Well, everybody kind of works different. What we do when we look at the teams, we actually have them fill out like an application, a questionnaire. We also do an interview with these teams to see if they're, are made up of the stuff we're looking for to be part of the foundation. We let the teams be the teams, but, if they go in and they do a lot of provoking or they, just want to go around and play around in the dark, those are things that we will not put up with. We're looking for professionals who are in it for the right reason. So we do kind of weed through that kind of stuff when we're talking to them. And, we kind of keep track of it too. They kind of go through a probationary period where, to see if they like us, if we like them, and then kind of work together from there.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. It sounds good. It sounds like there's some structure there because, I mean, I recently had a private case approach me. And this lady was claiming that she'd had £2,000 took off her from previous teams. Yeah, £2,000. It was absolutely disgusting, and they treated her as if she was bait. Some nights they'd stick her in the middle of the room and set a camera there and try to treat her as bait. And it really was not ethical at all.
No. And see, and that's something, the legacy, the foundation, it's, the Warrens, they were the pioneers of, going to help people, finding out the real stories behind what's happening. That structure and everything, their grandson, Chris, has continued that foundation, and it still continues the way that Ed and Lorraine would want it too. They definitely would not go for what just happened there with that lovely lady.
Yeah.
So it is a continuance of what the Warrens always had in mind. And that is everybody learn from each other, doing lectures and teaching things, just like when we talk about what kind of instruments we like using. Do we just go with psychics in there, or do we try to debunk things? So we also do a lot of that counseling behind it. And it's really great that I personally, if I'm working on a case, I am able to reach out to some great members of, the foundation and say, this one's got me going a little bit in a different direction, pull me back in, give me some of your ideas, or say, hey, can you take over this case because you have something that you could do for them that I can't. And it's really important.
And do each team document them cases in some way?
We document everything. We actually, when people ask to get help, we do have a very in-depth questionnaire that we have them fill out. And there's some things on there we ask that we have to know everything. But as we're talking, we go through the questionnaire, we talk to those clients, but we also keep notes. And if we go and do an investigation, any kind of video or EVPs, anything that we have, we do share that, amongst ourselves so
Yeah.
all of us can learn, because there's times where you will run into another case. It could be a year down the road and you'll remember, hey, I think Michelle actually worked on a case like that. Let's go back and see what she did to kind of help us with this one.
Yeah.
Really, really important work. And we really need to get back to that. Like I said, we get people from all over the world that actually ask us for help.
So we have a question at the moment. What happened? Sarah Edwards has popped a question on. Says, what happens to the Warrens Museum now? I mean, I believe the museum is still there. Everything is still in it.
Yes.
And Tony caretakes it, doesn't he?
He does. It is closed. And from what I understand, it's going to stay closed for now. There's not been any, Chris had kind of pretty much said that it's closed for now, but it is being taken care of and looked after at this moment.
Awesome. Okie dokie. So we have Jake in the studio in the background. He's going to pop on screen and he's got questions for you. I'm just going to bring him up now. Jake Lanigan. Hello, Jake. How are you?
Good. How are you? Hi, Michelle.
I'm so going to get you, Jake.
Oh, you know each other.
Yeah, I'm a member of RIP.
Part of the team. Yes.
Oh, wow. Okay, brilliant. Thanks for joining us, Jake.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
If you wonder what the music is, there's a motion sensor in. It's just gone off, so and I haven't moved. So if you wonder what the music is, that's what it is. Sorry.
Charlene's got a few haunted objects sitting, to the side of her. So a room she's in obviously has a few bits and pieces in that have activity linked to them. So hence the music box. So
it's not the first time it's done that.
I totally understand. I deal with a lot of haunted objects. We normally will remove haunted objects from homes. We do, or we'll have people send them to us. So I also have a nice big chunk of them stored away right now too for safekeeping.
Awesome. So what we can say basically is yourself and Jake, you're, obviously being part of the same team together. You are what we would class as true investigators with what you do. You start from start to finish. You start off with the research and you move on then for taking that research into the actual investigation itself. I mean, I class myself as a ghost hunter because I don't necessarily do all the research and things to start with. I tend to go off a lot more of what has been put across in the past by other people and try and link that in with what I get at the time. So you guys would be classed, in my mind, as more of a proper investigator in that sense.
Thank you.
So, Jake.
I mean, I'll go and have a look at history prior to going somewhere. I will dig deep to go. And then, or sometimes I'll go to a place, I'll investigate it, I'll see what we've got, I'll come home, and then I'll dig deep to see if it tallies with the history. I think it's a massive part of your investigation. It's
definitely
to see, and tally up with what you're getting to the history and what's supposed to be there. I think it's a huge part.
Certainly.
And
so
we have to.
Sorry, Michelle, go on.
Oh no, I said we have to dig deep. I have an intake coordinator that will do the initial stuff at first. We have someone that looks up all the history and things, because when I go in, I see things with my abilities, but I don't want to know what's ahead of it. So, are we getting the same type of readings while we're doing it? The same thing I'm getting. But when you start getting more and more people having similar cases, you kind of want to dig deeper to find out, are they in the same location? Are they going to the same churches or whatever the case is? Or do the families have a link? Because sometimes it's the lineage way back.
Definitely. So, Jake, what's your role within the team then?
Um, I do a little bit of everything. Michelle has pushed me on to doing some intakes before. Um, she's had me. There are times where we've had to kind of split the team up a little bit, and so sometimes a couple members of the team will go to one location while the others go to a different location. And so I've done that a couple times, where she sent me somewhere separate. Um, and like Michelle, I have my own set of abilities, and sometimes they overlap with Michelle, and sometimes they don't. And we kind of come to things from two different sides, and oftentimes we'll meet in the middle to get a better sense of the whole picture. And so with this whole doing research piece, with Michelle, I agree that I don't want to know too much about what's going on, but at the same time, I want to know enough so that I know what I need to do to protect not only myself, but the other investigators that are going on or that are doing this particular investigation. Is there something we need to be aware of as far as safety hazards in the location itself? Loose floorboards in the attic or something like that. Is there a history of maybe violence or domestic abuse that we could be walking into, and kind of the web that forms around those kinds of things? So doing the background history, not just from the historical perspective, is important, but also just to know a little bit more about what it is you're walking into, which is a little bit different than if you were to go to just, for example, here in the US, like the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum is a really well-known haunted location. The type of research you do for that is different than what you would do for a private location.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I mean, this is where we have a lot of differences in the UK, because there's people like me who are, I'm more of a live streaming ghost hunter. I head to places and I go in there. It's live streaming is predominantly the way forward with it for me, with a lot of equipment. Charlene's a very different kettle of fish there. She does live stream, but she also does document a lot more in terms of her vlogs and full videos, as well as live streams. But and not then she has a blog, she has a magazine. So she has a lot of different things. Plus there's the urbexing side as well for paranormal hauntings, isn't there? So
yeah,
there's a little bit. There's a vast gulf in sort of the way what the side that I deal with and the side that she deals with as such. In comparison, and there's a lot here. Whereas you guys over there seem to have a structure in place, which obviously works extremely well. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Well, and we will do some live streaming also, and we also do events. So since we never charge anybody for our services, we'll do some small events, and we split that proceeds with the historical place that we're doing the event at. So that continues keeping them. And then the rest, we actually put in an account for helping with travel and things, so we can still continue helping those in need. And then it never does cost them anything.
That's amazing.
So, so we still try to keep our historical buildings up and moving, so we don't lose those. And then we also, it's kind of a twofold. So if something it's got to be, true to your heart, not just the paranormal side, but the historical side of some things too.
Just bringing in sort of in line with a question that has been brought up. Now, obviously, we see a lot of the movies that are on, especially things to do with Annabelle. We all know that the Annabelle movies and the Conjuring films are a little bit far-fetched in comparison to real life. How much have you had much to do with Annabelle, Michelle?
I have not. I will tell you, every time I'm on a show with Chris or anything, Annabelle does come up. And so I know it's like pierced in my brain that Annabelle is very locked up. Annabelle has not moved. Annabelle is blessed on a continuous basis, and has not caused any harm to anyone at this moment.
Yeah, we do see the odd live stream that Tony puts up where they're saying they're doing a changeover of case, or they're doing a cleaning of case or something like that. You see when they put that up, and the amount that they get, it's a complete sort of ritual that they have, really, isn't it?
Yes, and they keep it as that because it's something that was started that way, and to continue to make sure everybody involved is safe. and, stay safe afterwards. So, there's no steps. That's just like the haunted objects that we deal with are more on the darker. So they're not just your spirited dolls. We do have some that are pretty dark that we have to do a binding with. We also keep blessed salt around them in cases that we have to continue blessing ourselves. But we also have other objects besides dolls. And again, those are more on the darker side. So we have to do those certain rituals also.
Yeah. Jake, I think I'm going to have to take you off screen because you're getting some compliments here. Look, there you go. So last couple of days, everyone complimenting me. So I'm gonna have to get rid of you in a minute, Jake.
No, that's okay. I just did want to ask Michelle this question because this is a question I've always kind of had for her. Now, granted, I know Michelle in a little bit different way than what a lot of people in the paranormal community would, because I get to work with her on a regular basis. And so my question is, Michelle, how does your interest on the spiritual side of things contribute to what you're able to bring to the investigative side of what we do?
That's a good question.
Enough with the serious questions, Jake. Come on. You can take over my job here.
They told me to relax and have fun. Actually, it's kind of a twofold for me. It really is. That's a real hard one, Jake. I'm trying to think.
How about this? I'll tell you what I see you doing with it, and then you can expand. How's that sound?
Well, you can, because I go back and forth and in betweens. And so I don't have like this particular. And so it's hard to choose one.
One of the things that amazes me the most is when we sit down with the client and you are talking to them after we've done the investigation and after we've done the evidence review, the way that you sit down and the way that you bring a sense of peace to those families is amazing to watch. Even if what they're dealing with is very dark and very scary, the way that you comfort them is one of the coolest things that I've ever seen. And you do that in such a way that you bring in spirituality, and you don't just tell them, pray to whatever gods, goddesses, whatever it is that you believe in, but you also tell them why it's important to do that. And that's a piece that I don't see a lot in this field.
Well,
no, you don't. No. You don't. You don't see, a lot of people don't do a lot of aftercare or try and, after the investigation, as you said, try and bring some peace to the people. That's going off again, so I'm going to have to turn that off. I don't know.
Jake, while Charlie's just doing that very quickly, Linda's also saying Jake has beautiful eyes, by the way. We're just going to see, because he's come on, Michelle, I thought we'll embarrass him a little bit as well, shall we?
Hey,
you know what?
Well, right?
It's all fair game, I suppose.
But I thank you for that, Jake. But, I go in with my own belief system, and I stick very true hard with that. But I do also recognize the beliefs of the families we are working with. And so I always just want to empower them to use what their faith is in, because they need to use 100% intentions to continue what we have done. And so I try to learn what their belief system is and then help them, embrace that and kind of go from there, because, I can't have them pray to who I would pray or who I would bring in, because it would never work.
Yeah,
it just would be half work.
Yeah. That's it. I mean, one of the biggest problems, we've got quite a few questions coming through in the chat at the moment, but one of the biggest problems we have over in this country is when you say about costing, and then you take any money from your events, you're sort of putting half that towards the venue and things like that. Our problem over here with is that venues charge like crazy over here. So the venues can sometimes make it impossible for small teams to do actually to go there and whether it's ghost hunts or full investigations they want to do, or what, because just literally, but some venues can be upwards of £1,000, £1,500 for a night.
Oh my goodness.
You know, and the venues themselves do put, but then again, when you look at the venues themselves, some of these venues have such historical, you know, they've got such a history behind them.
Yes.
And the way that, like, for example, we have one back where I'm from in Gloucestershire called Woodchester Mansion. Some people have seen that on TV in America on, when Ghost Hunters International have been over, things like that.
Yeah.
But that's such an old building, and it was never finished. But you go there, and to go there, I think the charge is for events teams about £600, £700.
Wow.
So when you have people go in there for an event, the people who are buying tickets obviously are paying upwards of £35-40 a person, you know, to go, and just to be able to cover costs for the events team themselves. So that's the biggest problem over here, I think, and that's part of the reason why where sometimes doing a full investigation where you're able to actually go out and do every bit of historical, you know, go through every single bit of historical literature there is and things like that. It's harder because you're limited to what you can do with the venue, you know. So it's an awkward one, you know, for us over here, you know, in that respect. Charlene does a lot of urbexing, obviously, which is a bit different. So
Can I ask you a question regarding you? Did you say you was an exorcist?
Yes, I'm a demonologist and on the registry to be an exorcist. I would be like, I wouldn't go out there and do it by myself. I would be like a lay exorcist. I would actually accompany the priests and them to do the job. And be able to help with some of the prayers and things like that. I don't go around and, you know, do it.
Go and do it.
I do what I call like an exorcism of a home. If there's a lot of negativity in it and stuff, I can go in and actually help, you know, release some of that. But I do have the training to do all of it. Yes.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And I don't know if you mind me asking, but have you been and done that then?
Have I done it?
Yeah.
No, because, you know, a full possession it's pretty rare.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah.
Yes, it's very rare. Now, there are more of infestations and oppression, things like that. And I do work a lot with that kind of stuff. But a full-fledged, you know, possession, I have not yet. And if it's anything like the movie and she starts throwing up on me, I'm going to say you some Hail Marys and I'm gone.
Right, Jake, I'm going to thank you for coming on, my friend. You're a star. Got a few questions. We've got too many people complimenting you in the chat, you see. That's the problem, you see. So
yeah, this is my show. What's going on?
I know, it's Michelle's show.
No, that's just fine.
Jake, you're a star. Thanks very much for coming on. What we look at doing as well in the future is seeing if we can get not just Michelle on, but some more members of your team as well, which will be good, and have a chinwag with a lot of you, you know, with regards to what you get up to as a team, rather than just more what Michelle does overall. So, Jake, you're a star. Thank you very much for coming on. It's been good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, my friend.
Bye, Michelle.
Thank you. Right then, so Michelle, just back to a couple of questions, really. So we've got Elaine Farrell in the chat is asking, can I ask Michelle if she thinks the amount of cases that are asked to investigate are on the increase?
Yes, they actually have been, especially since this whole pandemic has come out.
That was going to be one of my questions for you. Want it, Dan?
Yes.
Yeah, I noticed it has all over the place. It is not just here in the United States. Getting, you know, from, you know, we got things going on in Poland and Germany and everywhere. Also, you know, in Costa Rica and places like that. But I have noticed, you know, a lot of people don't realize the paranormal. We can manifest a lot of that on our own. And when we have all this energy imprints that are in our homes, and now we're going through, you know, we go through this trauma of what's going on. And then we have people that, you know, suffer a lot of anxiety or depression. This starts manifesting more and the energy starts building up like this big ball. And then it starts manifesting a lot of the paranormal. And, because they're like, well, this has never gone on before. Now, all of a sudden I'm seeing shadows on the, corner of my eyes. I'm doing this. And so it's trying to help people with their inner selves too. A lot of people don't realize, when you're doing a lot of the homes, it does have to a lot of times do with what that family unit is and what is going on there that's manifesting all this stuff.
Yeah, and some psychological aspects within that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It really is.
Yeah.
I mean, that sums up my personal thoughts on poltergeists to a degree, because
correct,
people automatically assume that the poltergeist, going by its meaning, the main meaning, that the spirit is, to me, it's not necessarily the spirit that is the poltergeist. It's our energies and any of the energies we're feeding it potentially that create that. So that's just a little thought process I have with it. So we're not necessarily, our energy is what it is. So you could say we're the poltergeist in that respect,
Correct.
So that goes hand in hand with that. So Charlene, we've got a couple of people in just saying about, is someone at your back door, because the light keeps going in and out? And
no.
Have you got...
No, I don't know. Since I've come on this live stream, that music box, I mean, it's only gone off when I've triggered it off, ever. Yeah. Since I've come on this live stream,
Charlene needs your help.
In here.
So now Charlene's got a doll there, which is obviously Charlene, I'll let Charlene tell you the story behind it, but it's one of the first that was truly noticed in this country. Is it not, Charlene?
It was, yeah, by the public, and I study more at home rather than do a lot with her in content wise. But over the years, she has produced some really, really interesting, evidence. And, I think I strongly believe in items, I really, really do. I think if somebody loves something in life, they're going to love something in death. I think that objects can be a good vessel for, bad energy to cling on to. I think, I've done my research on items, and the whole concept really, really does interest me. So I have, over the years, collected a few bits of my own and done my own studies on to see what we get. Because, at the end of the day, an item is just like a location, in a way. You can study it in the same way. But at least with an item, you've got it there with you and you can work with it as much as you want. Where a location, you kind of have to go in and out over a period of time, but you can study an item on a daily basis if you want. So the concept.
Keeping with the haunted objects though. So what, a couple of quick questions. I've got one question from Kirsty McGugan, which is, Michelle, what is the worst haunted object you have received? But also with that, what is the, adding to that, is there a reason you think as to why these items are potentially taking on the energies?
Well, worked with a younger client, who had a lot of trauma in her life and started getting drawn to antique dolls, but drawn to the fact of never having them before. And then all of a sudden she was saying that they were talking to her. So she constantly had to get them. Because of certain things in her life, she started feeding a lot more energy and wanted to invite things in because she had some lost some loved ones. So thinking that those dolls could have the loved ones, she was doing some inviting with conjuring something that she wasn't prepared for. So, at first she thought it was her loved one because it portrayed itself as that. But as she did it more and more dolls around it were getting affected. I have found one of the group of dolls that I got to kind of, it sounds weird, but like the ringleader, the one that has the strongest part of the negativity, that was trying to draw this young lady in and actually start wanting the young lady to be able to invite it into herself instead of staying in the doll.
Wow.
So that one has a couple of vines, has a lot of blessed salt. And when I go buy it, I can honestly tell you, I'm always going, oh.
Are those dolls in your personal collection?
No. So when I get haunted objects from folks that is tormenting or has something to do with it, I actually have a special place that I put them, because I am taking them away so they do not do harm to anyone else, because in the wrong hands, they can. So they are being protected in a certain place that I don't let anyone know. And they kind of stay locked up there. I mean, I don't just have dolls. I've got lockets, mirrors, samurai swords,
Wow.
and things like that that are being protected. And this is something that I'm doing that's part of the Warren Legacy Foundation. So, you know, these are things that we're working those cases. So it's going to keep building up, and that's how we're protecting and continuing, just like Ed and Lorraine did. Get those cases away, help the families, but not let them go back out in the public for someone else. I mean, I got a couple of Ouija boards that were used like really bad, you know, using like your own blood and stuff with it, that kind of stuff.
Blimey.
So, yeah.
So instead of like, instead of investigating them like I do with my items, do you tend to more lock them away to keep?
I do. I do read them. I can actually read to kind of see. So let me go back just a little bit. So the type of things I get as the psychic that I am is not like what I call, I don't give the love notes. I can, but that's not my norm. Mine is, I see the darker side of things from the other side. So when I see if somebody has got an attachment or something, I see that attachment as that dark attachment, you know, like either like a leech or something else. I see if one psychic might see a little boy with overalls, I might see that little boy, what he looked like when he drowned it in the river. So I will see him at his death. And so that's how I get my readings, and I get that off of objects, pictures, remote viewing, things like that. So I don't really investigate the objects then, because then there would be too much of that kind of attachment trying to happen. I can see what's attached or what's in it and what it wants to do. Like the true intentions. So
it's more about the venue where it's come from, really, and it being in its home, rather than actually the object itself to a degree. And then you remove the object from that venue and and then you move on from there. Yeah.
Yes, and then we document everything, so this way I can keep a catalog for it for the foundation and keep it that way. When we know there's an object that's bad enough, sometimes you need to get it completely away, the object first, before you can actually help somebody.
Yeah.
Because that object will still cause that havoc, which makes people give second guessings.
Yeah, understandable. So I got a question in the chat from the lovely Mary. Mary's amazing. If we brought Mary on screen, you would do nothing but laugh, okay? Because she's so lovely. She just makes everybody laugh. So Mary's asking the question. She's in Massachusetts herself. So the question is, obviously she put it up when Jake was still on. What's the most haunted place you've been to in Massachusetts? And is that I don't know, is that Time or Tum or something?
I have not been in any really haunted place in Massachusetts because I am in Iowa. I have been to, let's see, I think the ones, I've been to like Minnesota, I've been to some of the state prisons. I've kind of been a little bit all over the place. The place that was the most haunted for me and that caused me a lot of anguish was when I actually went to Gettysburg and went there, because no matter where you went in Gettysburg, that imprint, seeing the blood on the fields and things like that, that
Mm.
was pretty overwhelming. I have been to some really dark places. There have been venues that want, people to come and, they're saying all the spirits in here are nice, 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 and I walk in and I'm like, oh, this is not right. No, that's just no. He's nice because he wants to go home with you. That's about it. So, but yeah, I would love to go to Massachusetts and actually go somewhere there.
Awesome.
So if anybody wants me to come to visit, just let me know.
Oh, Mary, honestly, you won't get any
I just
investigating
need
done.
coffee.
That's it. You won't have any you won't get any investigating done if you went off with Mary. You'd just be doing nothing but laugh. She's the most. I'll tell you what, she's the most beautiful soul, and she comes on and on the reading nights we do, and we just have such a laugh. She's an amazing woman. So she just comes on. We just have such a laugh. It's brilliant.
But that makes for great investigation.
Exactly.
The higher the vibration and energy, the more you actually get.
No,
Yeah.
so we'll have to get Mary to invite you over there then. Phyllis Ross is asking a question with regards to John Zaffis. Does he own his own museum, or does he take his items to the Warrens because she thinks they're related? Could she be wrong in that respect? Do you know?
I do know they're related, but I believe he has his own. Everything that's in the Warren Museum, from what I understand, actually came from what the Warrens went and got from the cases they worked around the world.
Okay, that's awesome.
But I do know they're related. I don't really know how related. I don't know if it's like a cousin or whatever. I'm not positive about that one.
Yeah. So we have the other amazing lady who comes on and makes me laugh when we're on chat. When we're on chats, we have the lovely Irene. Sorry, I'm covering you up a bit, Michelle. That's okay. Irene's all the way over in Japan.
Hi.
So Irene's asking, I used to live in a haunted. She's saying, I used to live in a haunted condo. 5 people died very suddenly, and they were very healthy. My family was so sick, and I had to either cope with it or leave. We left. We had no help, but I could only sage my place. My crucifix would fly off the wall and land upside down. It took her forever to get over it.
Oh, wow.
That's a lot going on, isn't it?
That is a lot. Wow. That would be something that I would, if it's still going on, maybe having a private chat, seeing some pictures, since I, can read on pictures to find out what could be there, or a video chat in the home to kind of look around the home and see what I sense. But oh my goodness, bless you.
Yeah.
That's
so
all
Irene,
I can say right now.
If you've got anything at all, Irene, please either forward it through me to Michelle or to Michelle directly. That'd be
are you either way?
Amazing. Either way.
I'm happy to take a look. Yes.
So obviously with regards to we're talking about objects and things, and we all know there's a massive rise in items on eBay.
Oh my goodness.
I was actually going to ask you about the debug box and what your thoughts were on that.
So
that's
not just the debug box, and then obviously there's haunted dolls, haunted items, all together, really, isn't it? In that respect.
Yeah.
The only thing that really bothers me, and I'm just going to be very truthful, I do see a lot of people that are trying to sell dolls, and they say they're spirited. 90% of them aren't, and that really bothers me, because people who are wanting to collect them, they're getting taken advantage of, and stuff like that, and that bothers me personally. The other thing that bothers me is if these are spirited items, do you know, because a lot of even your negative spirits will always start off nice to get you to want them, because all of them have to be welcomed in, whether they're good spirits or negative spirits. And now with people, I've noticed it more and more, why everybody's at home, going online and buying all that. So, I do have some issues with that going on right now. I'm not going to say they shouldn't do it. That's, their personal thing if they'd like to, but I would definitely, I would never buy anything like that.
Hmm.
Now, if you sent it to me to lock it up, I'll lock it up and take a picture so you can say your last goodbyes.
So going back to what Charlene was just bringing up a minute ago, Dybbuk boxes. Your thoughts?
Okay.
Have you had any dealings with them?
I have with one. Wow. The concept of the Dybbuk box going back, back prior to the war and during the war, because I do come from Germany. So, having the Dybbuk box of what it was actually intended for, but it has actually become something that has become more of a negative thing. I believe it was more man-made into the negative than it actually was to begin with when they first started coming out. I think the intentions that everyone put in a lot of these things actually creates some of the stuff that we're getting.
Yeah.
And your intentions are the strongest things. And,
This is, yeah, this
the curses
what
and
I
things
always
that come
say.
on it. Yeah.
And I don't think that, they have a demon in them. I think if a bad intent has been done on it,
Yes.
that intent is enough to trigger something.
Well, and you think about it, it was holding precious items. It was used to hold precious items so nobody would find those.
Mm.
So the
Yeah.
intention put on that box is, if someone tried to get into it, I curse you with this because I don't want you to get my precious items.
Yeah.
And when that intention is put on there and somebody's, really saying, hey, this has got a curse, it comes alive.
Hmm.
I suppose the bad intentions in a lot of ways with a lot of these things at the moment is the moment somebody puts them on eBay and claims that they are haunted or anything like that, or
Yes.
that in itself is a bad intention as such, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I mean, we see so many of them here, and also there's a few haunted museums that over here that have sort of like come along. We see different ones you see in different places, they lay them out in certain ways and things like that. And do you see much of that over in America? Do you see much in the way of, because obviously we know about the Warrens Museum, we know Zach Bagans has got a museum himself, we know John Zaffis has got items, obviously you've got items locked away. Do you see a rise of in
I've heard some other folks that I've heard of a couple folks that have like a traveling museum of haunted items.
Yeah.
That go to like these paracons and things like that and show them. I don't hear a lot of them popping up everywhere. I notice in the States, more people are going towards not just the haunted objects, but a lot of the spirituality things of parts of those things. But you do have some of those that do go around, but not as much as you guys do, I don't think, that I personally have heard.
Yeah, so it certainly seems like the whole thing is a very different way of looking at the paranormal over in the States.
I would have thought it would have been bigger in the US.
You would have thought so.
I really would have.
Well, the paranormal is very big in the US, but I think, some of the other little things that, they're still doing them, but they're not out there in the public eye like they are.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yeah. So we have a question that's moving on from there. Ingrid Duquette. I mentioned Ingrid to you briefly on the podcast the other day when I spoke to you about Ingrid's the lady that's in Ohio. I said I would potentially get put her on to you. So because with you being in Ohio as well, I thought it's hopefully be able to help her out potentially. So Ingrid has just asked, Michelle, how do you know if a negative spirit is attached to you?
Well, it would depend. That's really where the oppression comes in. If people around you have started noticing that, your mood swings are really bad, and we have to kind of look outside of the pandemic, this would have to go prior. I personally read people and I can kind of tell, but, you should be able to, feel more depressed, or you feel like, you just don't want to be around people, or you're angry all the time. Different things can actually put it. Here's one thing I am running into a lot, and this is really wild that it's been happening. We were talking about like it being your own shadow. We all have our own shadow we see on the sidewalk and stuff, and that's kind of our energy that we're building up. I have noticed that a lot of people who think they have an attachment, or say they see the shadow person, or they hear whispers and things like that, they've taken that piece of them that has been fed with all of this energy and have actually manifested their own attachment, which is them. And it is the craziest thing, because I'm looking at these attachments going, God, they look like you. And I've been trying to figure it out, because it's been a lot coming in at me, and finding out, with everything going on in the trauma you might have had in your past, or anxiety, depression, anything like that, keeps feeding it and has actually manifested almost like into its own little monster. And now it's tormenting you. And those, they're a little harder to get rid of, because it's attached to you, because it is part of you. And I've had, I'm going to say about, in the last couple weeks, I would say 10 or more of those.
Wow. That's a lot to be, especially at the moment. I mean, there's no end of negative energies and things at the moment with what's going on, is there? So, so Ingrid's basically saying this has been happening for years now. So it'd certainly be worth Ingrid possibly messaging, sending you a message, whether that's through your page or through it direct to yourself. So that'd be certainly one to have a look at. She said that it's been happening for years since someone died. So
okay, yeah, just message me privately, and we can kind of work through it and see what we can get to try to help you.
So that'd be brilliant. What else we got in here? So Noreen Hill's just saying, I don't think you should buy alleged haunted items unless you are able to deal with the consequences. Just a personal opinion.
I will agree with her.
There's a risk factor there, though, isn't there? Really, you could say, because even though it's an alleged haunted item, I don't necessarily think you're going to go onto eBay and pick up a haunted a true haunted doll for 20 quid. Really, are you? 20, it's. If there was truly facts and proper actual evidence behind it, and somebody was sticking it on eBay to sell because they want
to give it away, they want to get rid.
They'd want to give it away, yeah. They'd want to find somebody suitable and then just give it to them. Somebody that knows or has done lots of extensive work with items, really, wouldn't it? So Elaine Farrell's also asking, can she ask what your opinion on people who provoke spirits in a really negative way? It makes her feel like the living are haunting the dead.
I am so against provoking. So against it, and it angers me when it happens. People want to find that EVP or that picture so bad that they start off okay, but then they start trying to really provoke or really get nasty, and to me that's very disrespectful. Now with me working with some of the negative entities that I have, there are times that I would have to, I command you in the name of Jesus Christ to tell me why you're here or why this. And I do have to go a stern voice. I'm not yelling and not provoking, but there is a difference. People that
you're taking a stand, if you like.
Yes.
And saying you're not controlling me.
Correct. I am just loving her.
Charlene, do you know what? I swear I've just seen there's something moving around outside your house, at the back of your house.
Okay, there isn't. Honestly, there isn't.
honestly, I've just seen.
You can open the door if you want.
I honestly, in the window to the side of it, I've just seen what looked like somebody walk one way to the other.
Yeah, I've been seeing that too, like somebody's walking back and forth.
There's nobody. Let me just put the big light on. Can you see?
Is that quite a tall gate you've got out there? Quite a tall fence at the
Yeah,
far end.
yeah.
So it couldn't be somebody walking, and it was above it. What I saw, I saw something move from right to left
I will agree with
on
you. I've
screen.
been looking over there, and some of the viewers are saying they're seeing something, but then I look and there is something walking back and forth, and I thought it was a person.
Yeah, it'd be
No,
interesting to go back over that, over this
I
after,
will. I'll have a look.
you know, and
Um,
have a little look at that. So what time's that?
no,
That's literally on the hour mark. That is literally on the hour mark.
Yes.
So, but that'll be interesting to go back over actually, because you physically see in that small pane, in that thin pane of glass, you see something move from where you're sitting now to
Yes.
towards the door, and it's high. It was high up as well, so it was higher than the fence line out the back, which is very
well,
strange.
yes, yesterday I had a really good session in here, and then last night I had a bit of a nightmare, which I never have nightmares, but one of the items in here gives you nightmares. And then, like I say, I've been on that live stream before prior to this one, and I've not, that's triggered off because I've moved about, and I've said that's me moving. But then, since I've come on this, it seems to have kicked up a little bit. But then I might do a live stream after this, and I'll get nothing.
But the thing is, I would want to sit there and
So,
say, could it have been a vehicle or something going past? Because the gate.
do you want me to show you outside?
Well, the gate
the
is
driveway is long.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. You see, is we only saw it in that thin pane of glass,
Let me
which is
show
the
you.
strange thing. So,
Just 1 minute. Sorry, Michelle.
That is absolutely fine, because I didn't want to say nothing because I thought maybe I was seeing stuff, and I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense.
that's it. But where the gate was, I was going to say where the gate is that was like to the left. That was just above the door handle, and what I saw was something move from the right hand side of the thin pane over to the left side of the thin pane, but no, it didn't go into the next pane. That's what I thought I saw.
And I
There was
believe,
quite.
and I believe
Well, I
some
will
of the
have a look.
viewers have said it too, that they keep seeing something.
And people in the chat have been definitely saying it as well. Yeah,
Yeah.
I will have a look back.
I think
see.
on the hour mark that was just before the hour mark,
Okay.
and throughout the chat as well. So, Mandy Bell says she's been taking screenshots while she's been on. So, good old Mandy.
Thank you, Mandy.
So, I mean, obviously, when we talk about provocation, on the little podcast we were on the other day, we were talking about it briefly, weren't we?
Yes.
And obviously, to me, I think if it's done in the right way and it's not aggressive, then it's a bit, it's still borderline. The problem, I think, I personally think, I don't know if you agree with this, Michelle, is that we now have a live streaming mentality rather than a document on video and go back over it and recheck everything mentality.
Correct.
Do you know what I mean? So our live stream mentality is let's get as much as possible and try and force it in an hour and a half, rather than doing 6, 8, 12, 24 hours worth of video and having to sit down and go through the whole lot.
I think with that though, Dan, it is. I think what with that is what is your motive to be in the paranormal?
Correct.
That is it. But where I've gone recently from, like I explained on the podcast the other day, I've gone from being part of a team and doing that and live streaming at the same time, but also filming, to just being on my own and predominantly live streaming, but going back over my live streams and checking it all. So
yeah,
what I've done, I've gone from one extreme to the other, you could say, in that respect. And, I still haven't changed my approach to it. I won't provoke. If I try to, I'm not going to do it in a disrespectful manner. And I don't necessarily, I've seen some stuff that's been done in the past, which was just downright disgusting. So, to me, if you show respect, but you ask, a couple of times, say, if you're not getting a response, don't continually ask. Do you know what I'm saying? If that makes sense.
Well, how would you feel like being in the past life and be asked like millions of times?
That's it.
How did you die?
That's it.
Yeah.
I
mean, and it's kind of like, you know, they must be feeling the same exact way. You know, if it's intelligence, you know, they're probably sitting there going, how many times am I going to ask me how I died? You
That's
know,
it. And it's
So-
nightly. It's nightly for in some places over here. They're literally hired out 7 days a week. Some places are. So,
well, and that's one
And I think
thing
I think
about
the
our.
thing is, sorry, Michelle.
No, go ahead, hon.
I think the thing is as investigators, we forget, we forget, and we don't treat them as if they were people. Some don't. Some
Correct.
go into a location, all guns blazing. They're rude. They're disrespectful. Would you talk to them? Because I wouldn't if they spoke to me like that. I'd be like, no, I'm not giving
it's
you
also
anything.
looking at it from the spirit's point of view as well, because that spirit, if it's from the spirit you're trying to communicate with in that premises at the time, could it, if it is from further back, rather than, you know, which you're probably looking more at over here, I should say, you know, you're not necessarily, they're not going to know what a K2 meter is, or they're not going to know what a voice recorder, an EVP device is, or anything like that, are they? So it's kind of putting it into a layman's term as well, isn't it? As such, I always like to say, can you please go over and maybe touch that black box on the floor?
That's kind of what we do, or we'll show them the lights, and you know, I'll go and touch something and say, if you just come by this, it'll do this for me. But you know, a lot of times, one thing that I do like about our events, you know, it also becomes a teaching moment, you know, to ask different questions, you know, like, what year is it? You know, or different things that could, you know, correlate with what they would know to get that response. You know, because a lot of these spirits might not know how they passed away because it was so quick. And, you know, when you're asking, they might be like, I'm not dead. That's why I'm still here. I'm not dead.
Yeah.
And I have come across a lot of those spirits that don't realize they have passed.
Yeah.
And so it's like, you know, they're looking at me like, I'm not dead. Why are you talking to me? So it's interesting at times.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just sorry. I'm just flicking down the comments very quickly because a few people, there's still people saying about the going across your window.
I can't wait to have a look back.
I know.
It's
The thing is,
become a crazy
on
show.
screen, your room was going from light to dark as well.
Yeah, that might be because the change of light in the room, so that could be the focus. But as regards to why there was a shadow pass, I can't understand why there would have been a shadow pass.
I'll tell you what that would be interesting, Charlene, would be when you sent me that picture the other day with regards to that weather station you've got behind you there that's in front of the doll. And what's your thoughts on this then, Michelle? Because Charlene had some interesting figures come up on that weather station. There was literally from the highest temperature to the lowest temperature was what, 10 degrees?
17
degrees difference between the top temperature itself and the bottom one. And then the middle was the average temperature.
Yeah. And there was there was a 17-degree difference. It's not a piece of kit that I normally use because I've had to go a bit old school because the rest of my investigators who I normally go out with have got my kit. So I've had to kind of make do with bits around the house to use. And I thought, well, the old school methods are sometimes the best methods, and I might not get anything, but I might. So I put it in, didn't get anything for a few days. It was just, the numbers was quite close together, as in the minimum, maximum, and average temperatures. And then I came in, it was on Monday. Was it Monday, Dan?
I think so, yeah, Monday. When we were still quite warm, wasn't it, here?
Yeah, it was still quite warm, but it wasn't 27 degrees, was it?
No.
The maximum temperature was reading at 27, and the minimum temperature was reading at 10, nearly 10.
And the average was about 16, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, but between the room had obviously been 27 at some point, and as low as 9. So that was a huge difference.
And that's in the room itself?
That's literally right behind her, where the doll is behind her.
So How many objects do you have in that room?
Quite a few.
Okay. No, and that explains the fluctuation of it. Okay. So
Yeah.
every energy source has its different ways of showing it and depending. But what I have been, and I've been kind of studying it, and I don't have it full-fledged, but when you start bringing a lot of different objects into a place, and you know, you don't have them separate or they're just kind of close, it actually builds a different type of energy field because of all the different energies coming off of each item. And it will make, like, sometimes, okay, 2 meter might go off and might not do nothing, but then you might get something when, you know, you're using a fleur or something else too. So I think it's the buildup of the different energies of all your stuff that you have in there, just depending. So that would make a lot of sense to me, that happening.
Yeah. Thank you.
That's
You're
definitely a
welcome.
good thing to look at there. So, sorry, people bringing up in the chat about the other night we were joking away about bananas, so making me chuckle. Steve Hemingway's just popped up, said, do you do any binding on objects?
Yes, I do. I do full binding on all the objects that I do, of depending on what they are. I do a certain binding for dolls, different bindings of depending on the object and a little bit what I know. But yes, I do.
Cool.
And then I store them away in locked places and make sure those are blessed also. So, you know.
So you have to go in there next time to put the next thing in.
Yeah, which is true. You know, I make sure all of it stays that way because it's really important to me. You know, I'm not making any money off of this because I don't want to. But, you know, if we know of a certain object that is just tormenting someone so bad because the object has that attachment that is absorbing that person, I don't want that to happen to the next person, because someone might say something's beautiful or cute. And then when they start showing it the affection it wants, it can manifest into something else, and it can actually get worse. So, you know, doing the binding of them and, you know, making sure I keep, you know, the salt or the holy water. I do also work with a couple of priests here that will go and also do that for me, you know, to give their blessings and everything. So, yeah, it's like Alcatraz.
Yeah.
It's pretty much shut down.
So,
do you do the binds on like is there a monthly basis that you do them, or once you've done them, that's it, or a yearly thing?
So do you continually do the bindings, or is it just do it once on the item and then off you go?
It depends on the item. It really does depend on the item. You know, there's a couple of dolls that I've had to redo the binding because of the way I did their arms and their legs and stuff. There was no way they could get out of it, but they got out of it. So I done it again and actually like separated those dolls, because then I knew the two energies together had formed something. So I do go in and double check, because when I first put it all in there, I'm not really sure, you know, what the effect will be and what other items will make something happen.
Yeah. So Steve was actually asking the same question to you there, Charlene, as well. He's just popped up saying.
Oh, he asked you about binding too.
He was asking Charlene about that as well. Yeah.
I've had things come to me already binded by other teams, as such. I don't do any kind of binding on them. Maybe I should. But no, I don't tend to, because I'm documenting what I find. Where Michelle is slightly different to myself, where I kind of want to prove to myself, but I can protect myself in the same light as well, but kind of want to prove to myself that there is something with them. So don't kind of do the binding. But if I felt like the activity was getting too much, or I couldn't control the situation, then yes, I would bind. If in like your case, Michelle, if a family was still being tortured by this item, the spirit coming back and forth to them, then yes, you know, binding is something that I would consider doing, because obviously the family and the people are obviously still being tormented by that. So I can completely understand why you do that. But at the minute, you know, a lot of my items have come from other teams. A few have come from households, and they've not reported anything happening since they've come to me. Kind of said it's gone now, it's come to you. So it's never got to the situation where I thought, oh, I've got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense.
And see, like when we have people mail them to us, you know, we make sure we tell them how to package it to mail it to us too.
Yeah.
You know, whether to have the salt in it or put it in foil and different things. So we have them kind of, you know, because I have a certain area, I don't even have it shipped to my own house. My home is like my sanctuary. I see enough demons that my home is, you know, it's got the, you know, the wall and everything. So I don't bring it into my home. But, you know, for what you're doing, I would love to hear some of the stuff that, you know, you have caught on it and things like that. But I think because I'm so involved with that client and trying to help them, the item is not important to me to worry about what the item's doing. Then I know what it's doing and what it did, and I'm going to put it away.
Cool.
Plus clowns and dolls, I don't get along with. Not my thing.
So, touching back on something we've, sorry, before I go on to Cheryl Stanley's question, actually. So what's your thoughts on items acting as portals? I'm going to bring up a question sort of that Charlene was asked a bit on the live a bit earlier on. She was asked about portals. But I thought I would ask yourself, Michelle, what's your thoughts on them? You know, do you believe that portals are there? So portals to the other side where spirit comes through, or that are continually open, or because I've done investigations before where I've had mediums with me, especially you know, when I've been to private residences, and instantly the medium is saying about the fact that there's a portal within that, or because of that item, or there's a portal in this room, and there's a portal there and there and there, like that. So what's your take on that side of things?
Well, there are such things as portals. People call them vortex portals, whatever. It's if you ever do an investigation for you to see it and stuff, because I can see. So to me, it looks like a swirling colored lights, and that's how you see things coming in and out. I always call it like a train station if there's a lot coming in and out. But if you want to be more on the scientific side of it, when you do go with a psychic and they tell you where it's at, you start looking at the energy fluctuations of those. So, you know, you look at it in the scientific way too, which is really odd for me because I try to do both sides. But you can tell the fluctuation of what kind of energy is coming out of that area. And if there is nothing you can debunk it with, that's where you're going to find that source. You know, we all just think spirits just walk through walls and come in and, hey, I'm here, you know. There are those dimensions. That's how they're crossing in and out, just like we cross over the free will. But there's still that everything is energy based. And that's what these portals are. It's like lots of light energy that's coming through, that's attracting the spirits to come in.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
I can't. Do you know what? I had such a bad night last night. My brain's not functioning quite so well, so I can't remember if we've actually asked you this question. But Sammy Lawley's popped up just very quickly before I go back to Cheryl Stanley. She's asking the question: can you ask what the most haunted experience they have had? So that yourself, Michelle, you've had with a haunted item.
that was the doll.
Yeah, I think you.
Yeah.
I think we did touch on that one, didn't we, earlier?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Sammy, if you pop back towards the earlier part of the live, you'll be able to see Michelle's full response in that respect. Going back to Cheryl, Cheryl was also saying about can Michelle look at images of people and pick up on things? I know you touched on it when Irene came on earlier, and so you said about maybe sending some pictures of the home that she was in across to you. What are you like when you get pictures of photos of people?
Well, people, places. I do psychometry, so I actually look beyond the print. So, like, you might see a picture of a child with a grandmother. I can see past that picture and actually get a reading off of it, and also help tap in to bring that person forward. But I can also do that looking at places. So, you know, if I got pictures of different places, I can kind of see where the most activity is, what, you know, and kind of tell you what's coming in and things like that.
Cool. Awesome. Okay, so obviously if for example, especially with Irene from earlier, we get that photos. If she's got any photos, we get them sent over to you to have a look at to start with. So with regards to your group as well, so your group is Ohio.
We do Iowa,
Sorry.
Minnesota,
Yeah.
Indiana, and Kansas City, Missouri area, which, like, Indiana does kind of go into the Ohio area. Iowa can go into like Nebraska and some of those areas. Also looking to expand, of course, in Texas, but not in their area.
Yeah.
You know, and things like that. But that is to help more of the Midwest and southern areas. Again, finding reputable groups that you would be able to trust, just like we do for the Warren Foundation. You know, it's pretty hard, you know, because on the phone and in an email, everybody, you know, is perfect.
Somebody's CV is amazing until you've actually worked with them properly and you know a little bit about them.
Correct.
And
Correct. My team, I really vetted out. I have, you know, people who have some abilities, but different types of abilities. I've got people who are very techy, you know, people who have a lot of really great bedside manner to help with the tough conversations. So, you know, the team is really molded into a very strong, powerful team.
Yeah.
I would trust them go anywhere and never have to think twice about it.
Cool. So would you say that your work with the foundation is a lot more than your work with your normal team, or is it about even, or do you do more with one than the other? Do you find?
It's kind of even. The only difference is a lot of the stuff that I do work with the foundation is more, more around the world. And so since my team's strong enough, if it's more of a local thing for us, I'm able to hand it off and trust someone else to do that as I'm helping doing something with the foundation. Now, my whole team is actually now part of the foundation to help. So it's, I can send them out on a case that has to do with the Warren Foundation, or they can do a case that is just part of Riverside, Iowa Paranormal.
Yeah.
So they're very good in both areas.
Awesome. So we've got Dave Deno, who's he's part of one of the biggest streaming groups on Facebook over here in the UK. Dave's asked, what's the most unusual bit of evidence you have been given from a picture? So the group that Deno's with, they are a group of psychic mediums and sensitives who go out not just to work with the psychic, the mediumship side of things and the sensitive side of things, but with equipment and things as well. So as a team, they're a little bit different because they are all sensitive or mediums.
Oh, I bet that's exciting to watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So John Deno's with a team called it's John Sixth Sense, where spirit meets science. So John obviously is the figurehead of the business itself and the team, where Deno's a team member, but every member are sensitive or are mediums in their own manner. So Deno's just asking, I've just lost his question there. There we go. What's the most unusual bit of evidence you have been given from a picture?
Well, the picture was they were trying to say that it was an actual, they felt like it was a succubus type of haunting. And there were things that were shown, and they were telling us all the stories. But as I was looking into the picture, I started seeing the imprint of something come to life, which was, it actually was the male that was there that was so abusive to the female and took so much control that it almost manifested almost like a succubus type of thing.
Wow.
And so there was a mix of real abuse and conjuring almost that kind of, succubus type of thing, incubus kind of, incubus kind of thing, not a succubus, excuse me. So it was kind of the two together. And it was one, when I looked at that picture, I physically got ill because the abuse from the live partner was so horrific that it did conjure that. And so she was getting it by both. And he actually was really enjoying seeing her get tormented on that. That was something exciting for him. So very horrific. She's not with them anymore. Things are getting better, but yeah, when you grab a picture and that's not what you're expecting it to just be, somebody just doesn't want you in their home. And to get this full picture of this, horrific type of abuse on both sides was pretty traumatic.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. We've only got a couple of minutes left. So what I was going to ask the question really was, I know obviously at the moment things are a little up in the air with regards to lockdowns, especially over here. I know in the States it's not quite as, you're not quite as strict over there at the moment, are they, with regards to things? But with regards to the coronavirus situation as it's going at the moment, have you got many plans coming up? Have you got many investigations in the pipeline?
We did. We had to move a lot of our events. We have found some amazing historical places that no one's ever been in, and we were doing some events, but we've had to push those off to a later time. I do know we have some coming up in June. We're just kind of playing it by ear to see. But still, the ones that are coming up in June are very small ones. So, less than the 10 people. We try not to do too many events that are very big. We would like them to be intimate. So the people who actually are paying for those tickets can actually enjoy a real investigation instead of having a lot of noise contamination and things like that. So it's been kind of a, play it by ear. Been working on a lot of cases right now via video chat, messenger, things like that. I still do my readings. I do past life readings and of course, just regular psychometry readings and things. So I've been kind of staying busy.
Yeah. I know the feeling. I'm at 7 nights a week doing this at the moment.
And I've got a day job, so it's like, what are you doing?
That's the problem with when you have a day job that you had to close down. You see, you sort of have to find something different to do. So, but certainly at the moment, it's certainly it's great because I'm getting to meet people like yourself. That's the great thing about it,
Yes.
And because it's yes, we can pull guests on, but a lot more people now are obviously watching chats like this and are learning a lot more from the likes of yourself. Because as I say, I think by the sounds of it, what we have over here is a completely different mentality to the paranormal industry as you have over in the States, where our mentality over here is a lot more about live streaming and, not necessarily the full investigative side of things. Charlene obviously pushes onto the investigative side of things, whereas a lot of us obviously, don't necessarily. That's part of the reason why I prefer to use the term ghost hunter myself rather than paranormal investigator. But it certainly seems like
the reason really that I live stream is so that people trust what I produce and what I write. And it don't really bother me if 30 people is watching, 100 people is watching, or if 100 people's, 200 people's watching. It just, if I can gain some trust in what I do, and people can relate to what I do,
Mhm.
then then that's all I want, really.
Yeah,
I'll be quite happy.
Well,
exactly.
I'm gonna I have to say Saturday night I am gonna be live streaming on the Spirit Realm Network at
Yeah.
a haunted bed and breakfast. So
Wow.
I'll be doing a live stream too on a Saturday night. So I mean, there's nothing wrong if you do it, for the right reasons, like you do, and stuff like that. I don't really see anything wrong as long as, we're not disrespectful to the things we do. I take my work very seriously, as I can see you guys do, So are we going to have those people that go rogue? Yes.
Yeah.
But you know what? As long as we have our own intentions and we do ours correctly, I love it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean,
Agree.
I suppose it
Yeah.
brings a complete different dimension to everybody you see and every group you see and
Correct.
which is we're not all sort of. I suppose we're not always. It's not like a Groundhog Day situation. Every single investigation, you go to an event, and the events aren't exactly the same every single time. It's something different all the time. So,
Correct.
Michelle, we're actually pretty much run out of time.
All right.
So,
It's been lovely talking to you, Michelle.
certainly has.
Thank
Oh, it
you.
was yes, lovely. I really enjoyed this. Thank you,
Mark
guys.
Green just said, just like to say thank you for a great live. Michelle is so interesting.
Well,
She
thank
is.
you.
Definitely are. I could talk to you all night, Michelle. I could be here all night.
Oh,
yeah.
me too. Me too. I love the chit chat.
I think you already had that with Drew the other day, didn't you? He's the best, Drew. Michelle, you've been an absolute legend. Thank you so much for coming on
Thank
and joining
you.
Charlene and myself. And you'll have to let us know the details for Saturday night. I think for us, it'd probably be early hours of the morning, though. If you're, what sort of time are you doing?
It'd be about 1:00 in the morning for you guys.
Yeah. So anybody,
Well, to be honest, a lot of us aren't sleeping here in the UK, so we'll probably be up.
exactly. Exactly. Anybody who watches WWE, so watch that Friday night and then watch Michelle the following night at the same time.
That's right.
That's it.
Right.
So wonderful, because I've got Daryl Marston on with me Saturday night, so 8:00 over here, which is about 3:00 where he is. So I'm certainly looking forward to Daryl coming on. I know Charlene is, and a few people I've spoken to are going to be fangirling a little bit. Believe it or not, though, I don't think we've. I'm not sure how many episodes have aired over here of Ghost Hunters or any of the newer shows. Over here, you see, because I haven't seen them actually on TV. So it's one of the things we love watching. Do you know what I mean? And it's such a shame.
Over here, it's huge to watch paranormal shows. I just normally don't watch them.
Yeah.
Because I'm normally busy anyways. Do I know about a lot of the shows? Yes, I do. And I'm not going to say I've never seen them, but it's just something I don't watch on a normal basis.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, you've been an absolute legend. Thank you very much for coming on.
Thank you.
And hopefully see you again sometime soon with the rest of the team, which would be wonderful. Yes. All right, Michelle, you're a star. Thank you very much. It's good to have you on. See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Wow, Charlene. Wow.
Lovely.
What can we say? Michelle,
amazing chat.
Amazing person to speak to.
Everyone enjoyed that.
Anybody who is anything to do with the Warrens, and especially with Michelle and her team, it's unbelievable the amount of knowledge, the amount of anything to do with that. Just the stories that we can all hear. Barbara, Psychic Medium, it's good to have you on. Thank you for commenting there. Barbara's just popped on to say brilliant show. So where are we? Steve Hemingway.
I bet you know what is happening here tonight. I can do an whole hour live streaming here and never have it that active.
I know, crazy, eh? Crazy. Steve Hemingway just say, Catherine Sorrella, UK director of the Warren Foundation, guys, if you would like any info. Awesome. Brilliant. Yeah, we got to get on that. Irene Takora.
Would actually.
Irene, if you've got any pictures at all, if you want to send them direct to Michelle, feel free. If it's easier to send them through to the page to me to start with, if you have any pictures of your old home, that'd be amazing. I can forward them on to Michelle for you. Noreen Hill, very interesting chat. Tracy Evans, good night, everybody. So what we're going to do is going to say Thank you very much for coming on, everybody. Elaine Farrell said, Charlene, I'm sorry I nicked your question.
All right.
So anybody who wants to know about Michelle's page, please pop and have a little look at the description. You'll see on there. I will tell you now. Let me just get... it is the Iowa Riverside Paranormal. Oh, my brain's just really not working today. Where are we? So Michelle is the founder of the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Team. So if you pop on to her group, give them a like and a share, especially have a good old watch of anything that they've got going on, and especially at the moment with they're able to still go out and live stream and do bits and pieces in the States, which is really good. So it's certainly worth a watch to see, especially slightly different ways of doing things, because over there they certainly do different things to the way we do. So that's the Riverside, Iowa Paranormal Team. Cheryl, I hope that's okay. So everybody, thank you very much. Rob Scholes, good to see you on, my friend. Donna McTaggart, very interesting type, been great. I just want to say thank you to Charlene for joining me tonight as well. Charlene's going to be back with me on Saturday, hopefully, when Daryl Martin's on, and same time Saturday at 8 o'clock. Tomorrow night is with Drew, so Drew should be back on as long as he's got some signal. And then just looking down my list, Sunday Drew's back on then on May the 5th, which is Wednesday next week, I think. No, yes. Tuesday. Is it Wednesday? Tuesday, Wednesday. We have George Shoplin, who George is. He's worked alongside the likes of Zach Bagans, so obviously that's going to be another good night as well. So we've got some quite big names on, and then we've got Gemma back on Wednesday doing readings as well, and then following through the week with a few more different guests as well. So also May the 7th, which is Thursday, we have Mike Cardenas. Mike is, again, he's an American investigator. He has the group called Midnight Paranormal Society. So it's certainly worth getting on and having a watch and seeing what they're up to. And thank you very much to everybody for coming on and asking all your questions, and it's been amazing. And again, Charlene, you're a star. Thank you very much for coming on, guys. We'll see you all tomorrow. Take care, be safe.
And, well, I'm going to go live in a bit, in about half an hour. I'm going to have a drink, and then I'm going to see what I can get in here.
That's it. That's it. So everybody pop over to Paranormal
in about half an hour.
In about half hour. So about 10 o'clock. See you then. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. All right. Bye.